We've said there's a huge opportunity for those leaders that understand how to design organizations, companies, that allow and generate trust. Now, this is not a naive exercise. This is very tough. This is very, very, very difficult to achieve. Yet it has been achieved, and we can learn from those organizations that have achieved and created cultures of excellence, where trust is high, where competence is high, where integrity is high, where benevolence is high, and where shared values reign. In fact, most often these kind of organizations don't require the kind of transparency that we oftentimes see right now, where everything needs to be reported on. Everything needs to be documented to the degree that it's more like a surveillance kind of transparency. That's actually a signal of the absence of trust. And many organizations are following that pathway. With the new technology that we have is disposable, the kind of surveillance that's possible, transparency in that context becomes easier, and it rarely yields the benefits of trust. So rather than going that route, investing in technology and supervision, etc., there are other ways that organizations are designing for trust and collaboration. One of the most radical ways is a shift in the purpose of the corporation, in your strategic goals, the values that you pursue. And this is basically what this letter of the Business Roundtable is aiming at. And Larry Fink's letter, as the investors is saying, is aiming at as well. They want organizations to pursue purpose, higher purpose. Because they know if you pursue a higher purpose, you have a possibility of creating shared values, and that's the foundation of trust. So in the statement that these 200 CEOs are making, delivering value to our customers, investing in our employees, dealing fairly and ethically with our suppliers, supporting the communities in which we work, generating long-term value for shareholders. All of these things that these CEOs want to help achieve and facilitate are an adjustment to what was before the shareholder value maximization doctrine. Something that people did not trust, that was seen as opportunistic. And so you see the shift is already happening to some degree, that you can design organizations, that these CEOs are committing to redesigning their organizations to facilitate and foster trust. You've heard from the students how little they trust these kind of statements. So there needs to be more than a declaration of values. There needs to be more than a mere document that is shared and generates attention. There needs to be clear enactment, a follow-through. There need to be policies. There need to be routines in place. There needs to be an adjustment of the incentives. We need to figure out what is relevant in the context of organizations. How we can honor benevolence and integrity. How we can create cultures in which we don't punish those that make mistakes. Where we can showcase that we can learn together. Where we gain and learn how to become more competent. All of these things are part of organizational life already. They can just be readjusted. We have hiring programs, we have development programs and training programs. If they are geared towards generating a trustworthy culture, where the dignity of each of the people is honored, where they can become competent, they are trusted to become competent and valued, where they're treated with care, where people are exemplifying integrity by taking responsibility. That's how you create a culture. And out of that culture can come innovations and strategies that manifest this kind of care. the kind of care that we talked about in this model of the bagel, the SDGs, where we care about the planet and the planetary boundaries, and we care about the people and their dignity. We need to adjust in corporations all the kind of current incentive structures that basically guides people potentially away from these kind of caring practices, caring innovations, towards the uncaring ones, the profitable ones. So as Andrew Winston in The Big Pivot says, we need to shift the way we value. And it's very difficult to do that, yet it is possible. And requires a little bit more mindful engagement, a higher level of consciousness, as Raj Sisodia is saying, in terms of understanding what's valuable. And not everything that has a price is valuable, and not everything that doesn't have a price is not valuable. In fact, the concept of dignity can help us understand that most of the important things in life don't have a price, yet they have a lot of value, intrinsic value. How do we establish a system that can acknowledge that intrinsic value? Once we have that in place, we can create processes in which we honor that dignity, our dignity, the dignity of the planet, and innovate to protect it and promote it. This sounds a little bit abstract at this point. We're going to go look at some companies that have done that and do that. And you're going to be trying yourself in that way. You're going to try to look at the organization that you have chosen and figure out a way how you can establish a culture of trust. One important piece here is that you want to make sure that you screen out the wrong people and you get the right people. Jim Collins calls it the right people on the bus. You want to get the wrong people off the bus. You want to get the maximizers off the bus. You want to get the psychopaths off the bus. You don't want to have them in your organizations. You want to actually screen for them much more carefully than current organizations are doing, because one bad apple can spoil the whole barrel. You want to make sure that you create a place, as Stanford researcher Bob Sutton says, that is asshole-free. Scientific term. No SOBs, another scientific term. You can check out his recommendations on how to create a workplace that is working for all, that is an asshole-free workplace. And once you have a group of people that are basically trustworthy, then you create a kind of culture in where trust can be natural, is reinforced. Where people hold each other accountable, have high integrity, where they express care to each other, where they develop competence, because they share the same kind of values and goals. You see this happen in many cooperatives, in many B Corps or social enterprises. They don't state that their goal is world domination, to be the largest and to be the most profitable. They come together to solve a particular problem, a problem that is relevant to many people. It's a potentially large social problem. And they come together because they share these values and they feel better themselves if they can be part of the solution. They don't necessarily know how to solve it, but together they can create a learning process in which they can become more competent at solving these issues. If you create a workspace, an organization like that, most likely you're aiming and getting towards excellence. Human excellence, organizational excellence, team excellence. Trust is the foundation. Trust is the lubricant. If it's not there, nothing will work. I encourage you to check out more on the literature and just understand how this has worked in other organizations, because it does work. It's not easy, but it's not impossible.